Hi everybody, this is attorney Frekhtman, and one of the things I do as a personal injury lawyer in New York City is I stay up to date on continuing legal education, and I try to really dive into all these trial webinars, CLEs, continuing legal educations, trial transcripts. Sometimes I watch trials. There's something called CVN where you could watch trials. I don't know if they have it in New York so much, but they do have it in other states, and a lot of the trials are very similar. The evidence rules are similar, and then you have the opening and what's persuasive, the closing, the cross-examination. So I've been watching some of the CVN. But what I wanted to talk about today was a way to prepare a client for a deposition and a way to prepare the issue of damages and the issue of loss of enjoyment of life, and how an accident has affected somebody, and how to be persuasive, and how to really explain everything, right? The way that, let's say, a serious accident or injury has changed a plaintiff's life, and how to convey that to a jury, how to convey it to the insurance company, how to convey it to the defense lawyer. And the first real opportunity that a plaintiff has to convey all that is during their deposition, right? Because they get deposed and they get asked questions. And one of the questions they get asked is, what are some of the things you were able to do before this injury that you are no longer able to do at all? And then those would be, depending on the injury, depending on the person, those may be things like, for example, if somebody has a painful herniated disc after a car crash, and they have a spinal fusion, they may no longer be able to sit for a long time. They might have to get up and take breaks and stretch. They may no longer be able to work, right? And then the other question that lawyers ask is, what are some of the things that you're still able to do, but not as well as you could before the injury? So those may be things like, I could still walk, I could still sleep, but I have pain while sleeping. I could still do some minor physical activities, but I have pain while doing them. And so this is an idea that I had from one of the videos, one of the CLEs that I watched. So what they're essentially saying is, when clients get asked these questions, they're asked this question in a deposition, right? Whether it's on Zoom video or in person, they're in this conference room and they're being asked this question. And so they're naturally nervous, and they may not give every single thing that they can't do. They may only say, you know what, I can't walk and I can't, sit for too long. And then when the insurance companies get those transcripts back, what they'll do is they'll read it and they'll say, well, look, why should we pay so much money? All they can't do is sit for so long. And they're saying they have a little pain walking, but everybody has pain walking. So this hasn't really affected them at all. And then they'll whittle down and they'll offer you very little money. So what this lawyer, what he recommends to do is he says, clients should keep a journal, a pain journal, a diary, and write down all of the ways that it's affected their life, maybe from the time that they wake up to the time that they go to bed, all of the ways, for example, sleeping, getting out of bed, putting on your socks, taking a shower, everything that you do, and keep a list of that. And then you could actually make the client's handwritten list an exhibit to the client's deposition. So then the defense lawyer is going to ask their questions, right? What can't you do? What can't you do as well? And then the client may fail to remember all the facts and all the things. So then you, as the plaintiff's lawyer, after the defense lawyer is done, can then question the client again and actually use their own list as an exhibit, right? That diary, or maybe a little note that they prepare before the deposition, and it may just have things that the person can't do. And I think that's very powerful. That's a good idea, because that may get into areas and, all these different roads, all these different avenues of exploration. And just as an example, one of the things we have is an activity checklist. And the checklist just basically goes through some of the ways that people get limited, impaired, or affected by an injury. And if you just look at the checklist, it just, there's so many things that you would not think of. For example, one of the issues on the checklist are sports. So if you're involved in any type of serious, trip and fall, ceiling collapse, construction accident, car crash, motorcycle accident, your ability to engage in sports is definitely going to be affected. But some of the things that they have here wouldn't be things that you would normally think of or testify to in a deposition. For example, things like archery, badminton, bungee jumping, boogie boarding, handball, javelin throwing, just whatever it was that you did before, or whatever it is that you may want to do. Because just because you haven't done something before doesn't mean you may not want to, right? I'm not a javelin thrower, but maybe tomorrow if I'm on vacation, I might want to go and throw a javelin or take a golf lesson, even if I'm not a golfer, right? Because that's one of the things you can do in life. You have freedom. You want to try something new. And now you can't because of this debilitating, life-changing, forever injury. So those are some of the ideas, and they have a whole list here, from scuba diving to paddleball to snow skiing, snowmobiling. And then they talk about hobbies like bird watching, board games, meditating, knitting, walking, snorkeling, sewing, so many. They talk about social activities like Father's Day, Mother's Day, amusement rides, cruises, going to Disney World, barbecues, church, holidays like Halloween, Hanukkah, Christmas, But it's not just about saying it, but it's also about maybe giving an example, like last Christmas, what actually happened, how were you limited, and getting into that with the client and being specific. Then work around the house, like cutting or maybe something to do with baking, holding bowls, holding pans, setting the table, household chores, like feeding a pet, a dog or a cat, getting mail, ironing, raising or lowering windows, shampooing rugs, arranging flowers, gardening, dusting, dishes, cleaning. They have house and yard work, like cleaning the interior of a car, planting, weeding, other outdoor chores, like changing the oil in your car, or, cleaning the pool, or shoveling snow, which we have to do. We just had to do a few weeks ago here in New York. Activities with children, bathing children, carrying them, chasing them, coloring and painting with them, holding or kissing them, picking them up, picking up their toys. That's probably a big job for a lot of mothers and fathers as well. And I know if kids could really leave a lot of toys out there to pick up, that's a big job. Carrying them on your shoulders, things like that. So this is good. This is a list, obviously like a template, but you could dive so much deeper. And so just imagine the difference, right? One plaintiff goes into a deposition and he's asked, well, what can't you do? Oh, I can't play basketball anymore. That's it. How much are they going to get? Or someone else who goes in and talks about all these things, about holidays, about picking up their children, about picking up their toys, all these specifics that we talked about, and gets into details and gives examples and is more vivid and colorful and really paints a picture of their life to the defendant. And I think that's good. You do it in the deposition, and you don't have to do all of it in the deposition. You just do some of it, and then you save some of it for the jury at trial. And at trial, you talk about it, but you also get other people to talk about it. You get your friends, you get your coworkers, you get your neighbors, you get witnesses, community witnesses to talk about it. So yeah, so this list, I like this list. This is a good list. It's actually, and it goes on. There's like other things. There's personal hygiene things like brushing your teeth, or, cleaning your ears, shaving. There's emotional, psychiatric ways that injuries could affect you, like being confused, being embarrassed. There's also things that you do with others, like with your children, like for example, teaching your children sports or teaching your children things that you could be affected with. And then they have examples of physical functions like bending to the side, climbing, crawling, crouching, getting up, squatting, standing, traveling, carrying luggage, getting in and out of a car. And then they have miscellaneous things like just carrying a briefcase or carrying groceries, carrying luggage, getting the newspaper in the morning, things like that. So it gives you a lot of examples. It's like a 13-page little checklist, but I think that's just a starting point, and then you really want to dive in, and then each person will talk about their experiences. But I thought this was a good idea. This was a lawyer who is very, very experienced, who recommended this, and I think that's a very good idea. So it's one of the ways to improve and get more money for personal injury victims and their families. Okay, hope this has been helpful. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.